Well, if you don't remember, I'm Jill, and this is Kayla, and we found an email that we wanted to read to you.
Okay.
So we emailed a couple people, and this was one of our responses back. It says, "Thank you for contacting me regarding to House Bill 2312. This bill remains in the House committee, which I am not a member of. I introduced Senate Bill 5935, a bill which will expand broadband for rural areas, has passed out of the Energy, Environment, and Technology Committee with an anonymous vote. A copy of the bill report is attached. We are hopeful that this year to make a huge progress in the broadband speed and access. Thank you for taking the time to contact me. I appreciate hearing what is important to the constituents. Tim."
So that's from Senate.
From who?
From who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
And what did you say in your email to him?
We were talking about why we wanted them to support Bill 2312.
Right. Okay. So 2312 is in the House, and Senator Sheldon, of course, is in the Senate. So he'll be looking for that bill if it comes over. So given his response, what did we learn from that?
That he's not.
That there's other bills that support the broadband in rural areas.
Exactly. That's a really good observation. So where's your bill at? Do you know?
The what? The appropriations.
Right.
House appropriations.
Yeah. So very good. So the bill is not out of committee, and the deadline for getting bills out of the budget committee, which includes appropriations, was on Tuesday. So
does that mean it's dead?
It could be. So that's a good question. So in most cases it would be, but there's an exception. Does anybody know what the exception to missing deadlines is?
Nope.
Okay, so if it's considered necessary to implement the budget, it's called NTIB, necessary to implement the budget, then a bill can be considered still alive even though it's missed the deadline. And what we're hearing about your bill is that even though it didn't get out of appropriations, that they might consider it necessary to implement the budget. So it might still be alive. So that's good, potentially good news. The other good news is that there's a lot of other bills out there. As Senator Sheldon pointed out, there's at least one in the Senate, and there's a couple of others in the House. And you guys might do some research to find out what other bills are out there that are still moving that you guys could maybe work on and get it to do, maybe amend it to do what Representative DeBolt's bill does that you like.
I think one thing that we are hearing is that the subject matter that you guys chose to follow, which is, broadband access, is a priority for the legislature. So Representative DeBolt, like John said, this isn't the only bill out there. And so a lot of times if a legislator's bill does not pass a certain deadline, they will look for other bills with similar subjects, just like Senator Sheldon outlined, to put their idea on top of another bill that's still alive. So, sometimes there may only be one single bill out of the 2,000 that are introduced. And I would say your prospects are pretty slim if it's not really a priority issue for the legislature. But broadband access in rural areas, exactly what you guys are experiencing and discussing, is a priority for the legislature. So there are multiple avenues out there that the legislature is working at to try to solve this problem. DeBolt's bill is just one of them, and there's others. So, I think John's point is a good one, that your homework assignment should be to look at what other bills did pass and are alive right now that deal with the same issue.
Okay.
Did you guys write letters to the representatives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you heard back?
We've got a couple of responses.
Okay, good. Good. They might be able to tell you more about whether the bill is still alive in the House or whether they think you might want to move on to a different bill. So.
Okay.
Okay. Good work.
You go first. Hi, my name's Logan,
Hello.
and I was wondering if the bill is still ongoing, will this state get the $3 million back, or will the taxpayers be stuck with the bill?
300 million, right? So if the bill passes, is that what you? Is that
Yeah.
if it passes? That's a good question. So what I have heard is that there is a thought that if they spend the money and they get the contracts to build it, that they could lease the fiber and try to recover the costs. The truth is, they are probably not going to recover all the costs. It's just too expensive, and these rural broadband and even some non-rural broadband systems just operate at a loss and have to be subsidized. So the likelihood that the state will recover all its money, the taxpayers will recover all their money, probably not going to happen. So the state should plan on having to just spend money and not recover it. How much? I don't know.
All right, so I'm Junior. I was wondering, do you think the bill is too much money for the state?
Well, I mean, do you want me to?
Yes.
It is a substantial amount of money. And so anytime legislation impacts the general fund budget, the state needs to make a choice on, I mean, they only have so much money inside the box. So they need to decide, do they shift revenue or sources of revenue from other state activities, for example, social and health services, programs that are funded through the Department of Ecology, like environmental services, but the state will need to decide they're going to shift funds from over there to pay for a program like this. The other avenue that the legislature could take is they could try to raise new taxes to fund programs like this. And so that's the choice they have to make. There are several bills out there right now that do propose to raise new taxes. Those do not go without controversy, though, because a lot of people don't really want to pay more taxes. So it's a choice that the legislature has to make on whether this is a broadband access is more of a priority than some other state services, and they would reduce funding going from one area and shift it to fund a program like this.
I think if this bill is going to get out of appropriations, it's going to have a much lower price tag. Somehow they're going to have to reduce the cost. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I've got a 10 o'clock meeting. I'm going to leave Christine here with you guys, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Oh, was that a dab? I think I just saw a dab. I have 4 boys at home. I know what a dab looks like.
Yeah, you gotta do one back now.
Oh, I can do that. Dab back. There you go. Oh, my sons will be very embarrassed about that. So
I haven't watched the video now.
Good morning. My name's Miss Bannon, and
I'm Carson.
so
Hi, Carson.
I know that John had asked if we had actually heard anything back from one of our state representatives. So I've actually been asked to read the email response we got from Drew McGewitt. So it says, "Dear Hawkins Middle School, I received all your emails regarding support for House Bill 2312. This bill was referred to the House Technology and Economic Development Committee. It had a public hearing, and then it was voted out of committee unanimously by the members of the committee. It has now been referred to the House Appropriations Committee, of which I am a member. I hope the chairman will schedule it for a hearing. I agree that it is important for students and schools to have access to high-speed internet. So much of your studies is helped by good information, and the internet allows you to search for more details worldwide. I appreciate all of your comments as to your reasons to support this bill. It would certainly cut down on homework time and having to wait for adequate speed. I appreciate your messages. It is important for me as your state representative to get input from you and know of your opinion. As the bill currently exists, I intend to support it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So we just got that on the 31st of January.
Okay, yeah, so that was before the bill didn't move out of the Appropriations Committee.
Yeah,
but I think maybe a next step for the class would be following up with some sort of communication to maybe Rep. McEwen, thanking him for communicating with you, and then asking, what avenues you could take to try to get this bill moving along, or if there are other bills out there that we could shift our support to with the same goal in mind.
Okay.
That might be, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chase,
Hi, Jason.
and my question is $300 million enough for this, or do you think the state will go over budget?
Well, that's a great question, and I think it leads back to $300 million is a substantial amount of money for a bill. I mean, it depends on the types of bills we see over here, but they could range from $25,000 up to several million. So $300 million is a lot of money, and I think when the state funds programs like this, they need to be very proactive as far as managing the dollars that are spent for the project. So it'd be hard for me to estimate on whether they would go over or not, but a program like this, I'd have to say they would have substantial oversight to make sure that the money is well spent and they don't go over budget. That is not seen as a good use of when you spend over what they've allocated you to do. But at this point, it's still not in any budget. So I think that would be really premature to forecast that. So right now, I think they need to reduce the amount that would be spent here in order to make it more feasible to be included in the state budget.
Hi, I'm Temple, and my question is, what other items besides education is costing the state the most money?
Well, I would say, education has been very, a priority the last few years to shift and a significant amount of revenue over to the field of education. The other piece in the general fund budget that the most money is spent is around social and health services. So it funds the Department of Social and Health Services, which has programs like taking care of the elderly and disabled, taking care of youth, and helping families that are, of lower income brackets. I would say there's probably 80% of the general fund budget is spent in that sort of social and health side of things. So that would be, to answer your question, that's where most of the money is spent in addition to education. And then there's smaller pieces that go to these other agencies like law enforcement, environment, and those types of programs.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Asher. My question was, could you help us understand Tim Sheldon's Senate Bill 5935?
I can't. Tell me what it does. I need to look it up. Is that what he referenced in his email to you?
I believe so, yeah.
So do you want to go to the Ledge website? I think that would be great. So we're going to pull up the legislative website. And I think John and I showed this to you guys a couple of weeks ago, that this is a great resource for you to become aware of and use. So like I would go to this website right now that you can see, and it's ledge.wa.gov. And then I'd go to the left-hand column under menu and under bill information. And then I'd type in the bill, which is 5935. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so if you see, this is Senator Sheldon is the prime sponsor, and then Senator Carlisle. So there's two senators on the bill, And would you mind just scrolling down a little bit? So remember, we talked about if you need to find where the bill is at in as far as the legislative timeline. And it looks like it's still in committee. Or did it get out of rules? Can you scroll down? I don't use really that. I go down to thank you. Keep going. So it was introduced last year, which is interesting. Oh yeah, so it's alive. So if you guys could look down at the history here. So starting in January 8th, it was reintroduced. So this was an actual bill that was introduced last legislative session. And so remember, we talked about that we run in a 2-year cycle. So bills that are introduced in the longer session, which is the 2017, they remain alive into this is the second year of the biennial cycle. So the bill was reintroduced on January 8th, and it was heard in the Senate Energy Environment and Technology Committee on January 25th. And it was voted out on the 1st. And then it continued through Ways and Means. And now it's sitting on the second reading rules calendar. So this bill is very much alive, and probably it'll be interesting to see. But with 2 Democrats, it'll probably have a good chance of passing out of the Senate in the next week. The next cutoff is next Wednesday, Valentine's Day, February 14th. So all the bills need to get out of their house of origin. So whether they were introduced in the House or the Senate, they need to be successfully passed off the floor in the House of Origin by the 14th.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. I think one thing for you guys to look at if you're interested in this bill would be to find out what the fiscal costs are for this bill. And you can do that right on this website. And that's something I'll assign myself as homework as well, but to figure out the fiscal costs and see if it's less than 300 million, it may have some more viability than the House bill. Hi there.
I'm Vanny.
Hi there.
Bill 2822, breakfast after the bell, has moved through the House. Do you think it'll move through the Senate?
Well, what I'd say, do you mind going to find where that's at?
You want me to share?
Sure, yeah. So you guys, I'm going to go back to this website. I think it's important to see this is every lobbyist uses this website. So I'm going to go find out that it did pass the House originally. Is it 2282? Is that what you said, bud? What was the bill number again?
2822.
2822. So this is breakfast after the bell, and I know, oh, that says concerning service animals. Do you have the right number?
Nope. Yes. Well.
You don't have it?
Nope.
Okay.
It's breakfast after the bell, though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. But you'll find that's a key piece of information. There's so many bills, you've got to have the right bill number because legislators are going to say, I have, let's see, 1295. Did you? They're going to want to know exactly which bill you're talking about here.
Yeah.
So since it has passed, I know it has passed the House. That is another priority for this legislature, to fund breakfast after the bell programs. I'm just trying to look up so I can kind of see what the vote was here. I think it's 1295. That's no. Type in breakfast out, yeah. Yeah, 1508. We're going to pull up, it looks like it could be 1508. But since it has passed the House already, that was one of the first bills the House passed over to the Senate. So obviously it's way ahead of the timeline. And so I would anticipate that this becomes a priority for the Senate to pass this year. They've been trying for several years to pass. Yeah, it looks like this is what it is. So one thing that's important to look, so you guys can see House Bill 1508. Do you see all the sponsors that are signed on to that? That sends a significant message that this is a priority for legislators. The other, because some bills only have 1 or 2 members on there, but some that have a substantial number of members signed on to the sponsors list, that's a sign that they're telling you that a lot of people within the House Democrat caucus support a bill like this. And the other piece that as a lobbyist, if you're doing your work, would look at the sponsor list and see if there's any sponsors from the other party, because then that would be a sign that the bill does have bipartisan support from Democrats and Republicans. And often when bills have that, they are more likely to pass. I'm going through this list right now, and I don't see any Republicans had signed on that. These are all Democrats. Yeah. So if you go scroll down a little bit, I'm just going to look at what the vote was. So if you continue down, if you're looking at the bill history here, the vote off of that. Oh yeah, but it'll go down to 2018, I think, if you, yeah. So right here, so January 10th, on third reading, you can see that this passed 83 to 15. 83 legislators voted for it and 15 against. So I would say this has a very good chance. Can you continue? Oh, this already, yeah, it already passed the Senate as well. So if you look down on January 31st, it already passed 43 to 5. So
Right.
yeah, this is already moving past and is headed to the governor's desk.
Whoa.
Ooh. All right.
That was one we were talking about doing, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but you wanted to do the internet.
Denise, do you have anything else? I don't know if we can change. Does anybody else have a question? Do you have any homework for the kids?
I think what a good idea would be to find out, are there other broadband access bills alive? And you can do that by searching on the Ledge website exactly what we just did to find the breakfast after the bell. So you could do some research to see what other bills are alive that deal with broadband access that we could sort of piggyback on and track those bills. And I would say the bill that we chose to track, that is not dead at all. A lot of bills that have a significant fiscal impact, they stay alive till the very end because the budget is the last thing that's passed, and any bill that impacts the budget is alive. And so I would say this bill, we should continue to track it as we talk in the next few weeks, because it could pop up at any moment and be passed out of appropriations because there's some sort of deal that's been struck about it. So I would suggest we look up broadband access and see what other bills out there that we could track as well. And then another piece, if you were interested, to respond back to Rep. McEwen and explain that, we saw it didn't pass out, and is there anything further that we could do, or any other bills that would help further the broadband access cause that he supports.
Okay, another thing, we were looking when people do the voting, like the yeas, and then it has some people absent. Does anything happen if they don't come to work, if they're absent? What happens in that case?
Well, it becomes significant when you have a controversial vote on the floor. And especially right now in the House and the Senate, there's only a 1 vote difference between the Republicans and the Democrats in the House and the Senate. So when you have a controversial bill and you need every legislator there to make sure your bill gets passed, that's when having legislators becomes very significant. So if you have legislators that are gone or sick, you will see the leadership within the House or the Senate manage what bills they select to come up on the floor. So they will only bring bills up if they have legislators that are gone or sick, the bills only brought up, they are known bills that they will pass without a slim needing every single vote. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So when there's a very controversial bill and they know it's going to be a tight vote, then the leadership needs every single member there, and they need to know exactly where they're going to vote before they bring it out on the floor.
Okay. Do you want to say goodbye? Huh? You want to say goodbye? Nah. Okay. I guess I'll do it. Okay, so February 26th, we're coming to the Capitol.
Right.
And we hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, we will meet you there. Is that in 2 weeks? I'm looking at my calendar right now.
It is a Monday.
I think we're in the state reception.
Okay, so it's 3 weeks, yeah.
We think we might be in the state reception room from 10:30 to 11. We'll verify that for you.
Okay,
For
yeah.
the kids to meet you.
Yeah, we would. So you guys are down there, and then are you taking a tour of the Capitol and?
Yes.
Okay. So
With
yeah.
Enterprise Tours
Okay.
Services, Enterprise Services, and we'd like to meet you, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I mean, John and I were planning to we'd meet you guys at 10:30 and figure out your day and then see, when do you have any downtime? Like it would be good for the first 15 minutes for us to be there and we can meet with you guys.
I'll check it.
Okay.
We'll check. We don't have much time because it's a short day that day. We have to get back to school.
Right. So the other thing, so we can plan to be there at 10:30 and then we will talk to Representative DeBolt and maybe even Senator Sheldon, since he emailed you guys back, and we may track his bill to see if they could come over at 10:30 and meet you guys as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
I think all we have for today, unless you have something else for us.
So we will talk again in 2 weeks before
we.
Yeah, so it'll be Friday the 23rd, and then you're coming on Monday. So then we can kind of figure out the schedule on the 23rd.
And is there anything you want the kids to do for the 23rd? Look for other bills that pass.
I think that'd be important to look at the other broadband bills that are alive still, and then we can sort of, maybe track 2 or 3 of them. Because I don't think we should give up on DeBolt's bill. I think that's very much alive, but it'd be nice to kind of, if we want to track Sheldon's bill, and then if there's any other ones, that would be good to know.
Okay.
I just had a question. I was hoping you could kind of share with the kids what life is like for you right now in the Capitol, and if there's any bills you're working on that you're finding success with. Are you guys trying to kill any bills that would benefit the companies you work for? And then when the kids did the little scavenger hunt to find out who you work for and how much you make and what you spend, they did see that you actually work for a couple different companies. So the kids were kind of interested to hear about you and what companies you work for besides the Vista.
Oh, okay, sure.
Just just kind of like a day, what a typical day is like for you. They're just interested in different jobs.
Sure, yeah. So I'll tell you, my first job is I'm a mom of 5 kids. So my day starts at like 5 a.m. making lunches and making sure everybody has their homework done and practice jerseys. So I can very much relate to you guys there. I have 3 in high school and 1 in 5th grade, and then a little guy who's 5. I have 4 boys and a girl. So the legislative session is very busy. So like John and I explained, I am a contract lobbyist. And so you guys, it sounds like you looked me up in the PDC website. So you found that I have multiple clients. And so that means I represent them on various issues. So Avista is one client and we do a lot of energy issues. I also represent the Associated General Contractors. And so that's large commercial construction contractors. And then I represent the health carriers, which provides your health insurance. So Kaiser or Group Health or Premera or Regents, I represent them in addition to other clients. So I work on a variety of topics. Session is very busy. We're tracking bills for all of these clients, several different bill lists, trying to either help. Several of them are trying to pass some bills this session, but I would say more often than not, there's a lot of bills that we're trying to not have pass, or we're trying to amend them that it would make it better for the companies. So so yeah, I mean, right now, the legislators are on the floor. They're out of the committee hearings, and that was what the timeline, the cutoff was Tuesday. So now from Wednesday of this week up until Wednesday of next week, they're on the floor just passing a flurry of bills. So we're busy trying to track which bills are moving and which ones have amendments and which ones we need to adjust and try to make changes to. So, but coming over to Olympia will be a good eye opener for you guys to see if this is something you're interested in. And maybe even, I don't know if you guys are interested in the page program, but there is a page program where you can page for your senator or representative, and you come over and work for a week and you can kind of see what it's like in Olympia.
Thank you for coming. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Okay, see you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Bye.